Hey, what's up, zoners? I've been drinking and I've been thinking about fantasy football running backs for next year. I'm going to be ranking all those fools. I've got tiers. I've got beers. If that sounds interesting to you, hold on for 7 seconds.
You can do it!
Hey, what's up, zoners? This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and Banjo, the dog, coming at you live from my garage. And this is the Fantasy Red Zone. We have a table for today's episode. Check that shit out right now. All right, let's start off by explaining this graph. First column, running backs. You see Christian McCaffrey's name right there. Second column is my prediction for the 2024 fantasy football draft. That is my early ranking for next year's draft. So he's my number one running back going into next season. And hey, the third column is points per game, fantasy points per game for the 2023 season, the season that just ended. So he was number one in fantasy football points per game by a long shot, dude. And hey, fourth tier, there's four fucking tiers here, man. This is my fourth beer as well. 4 tiers, 4 beers. He's in a tier all by himself because he scored 3 more fantasy points than the number 2 running back on a points per game basis. Dude, Christian McCaffrey, he faced an 8-man box a league high 36% of the time. He still was second in rushing yards over expected per attempt. So in all metrics, he was badass. And he had the hardest, the most difficult time of any running back this season as far as, 8 men in the box. So that is amazing. And that leads us to our running back number 2 going into next season. He was also running back 2 fantasy points per game this last season. Kyren Williams, he was my fantasy MVP, my fantasy waiver wire pickup of the season. Dude, he is scoring 3 less points than Christian McCaffrey. I just said that per game. But he scored 3 more points than the third running back per game, which was Kamara this season. So he literally was in a tier all by himself. Dude, money in the bank, Kyren Williams was when he played this season. Next up, Breece Hall. I have him ranked number 3. He ended the year on a tear. He had a fucking crazy ass year, man. So here I am talking shit about Breece Hall all season long, and now I have him ranked 3rd going into next year. I learned my lesson, man. I did not expect him to come off of that injury that well. And then we saw that offensive line, and I was like, oh my God, dude. He just had a crazy ass season. I mean, he literally rushed for 40 yards a game. I don't know what his average was, but you look at when he scored 20 plus points, he was getting 25 rushing yards a game or some crazy shit like that, catching a ton of passes from those quarterbacks. But guess who's not going to be that quarterback next year? Zach Wilson and others. It will be Aaron Rodgers. Who knows how much that full fucking checks down to the running backs? Not that much. I know Aaron Jones was pretty good catching the ball down in Green Bay, but Breece Hall, man, making me look like an idiot all year. He had the 6th most fantasy points per game, and I have him in tier number 2 with Kyren. So yeah, man, I'm not going to be looking stupid very much longer because I'm on Team Breece, man. I'm on Team Breece. Let's go. Jonathan Taylor. I traded for Jonathan Taylor, I don't know, halfway through the year or some shit, and he got injured, and then it lasted longer than it was supposed to, but you saw what he does in the fantasy football championship. He got goddamn 30 rushes, over 100 yards, and a touchdown. This is all about Shane Steichen. I do love Jonathan Taylor, but this is all about Shane Steichen, man. You saw what he did with Austin Ekeler. You saw what he did for the Eagles, and now he went over here, man. He is dominating the run game again. Shane Steichen runs the fuck out of the ball, man. So Jonathan Taylor, dude. Jonathan Taylor Thomas. Shout out. Home improvement. Number 4 for me. Rounding out that second tier, and he was 12th in fantasy points per game this last year, so I am over projecting him for next season. And then here we go, top of tier number 3, Jahmyr Gibbs. Mamma mia, Jahmyr, we go again. I don't know why that's stuck in my head. It's because that asshole in my league always had his name all year, and I tried to trade him for Gibbs all year long. He would not give him up. I have him as number 5 going into next season. That offensive line, dude, is going to be good again. Penei Sewell and company, holy shit. I put a lot of weight into offensive lines with running backs. I say that, and I put Breece Hall at number 3. I can't be proven wrong. I got it. This is just ridiculous. All right, anyways, moving forward, he was number 8 in fantasy points per game. He really turned it on in the second half of the year. He was a top 5 running back second half. He's the top of another tier for me just because he has to split reps with Montgomery. And then talking about splitting reps, dude, number 6 for me, Bijan Robinson, number 6. He was number 17 in fantasy points per game, and I was like, fuck this guy, dude. I'm going to have him below Etienne, below all these other people. But then guess what, man? Arthur Smith was fired. So Robinson, boo, boo, pew, 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 shoots back up to the top in the middle of tier 3 for me. And then rounding out tier 3, Alvin Kamara. I was a Alvin Kamara owner, dude. He had the third highest fantasy points per game this season. Dude, he was killing it for me. He was a top 3 running back literally for like a month and a half. And then I started watching the games, and man, Taysom Hill is a dick. Jamal Williams came back. He started getting the goddamn ball. Who knew, man, what kind of offense was going to show up? Super inconsistent in the second half. But Kamara, dude, there's always a chance he's going to catch 7 passes. I mean, with the amount of passes he catches, he's got to be up here for me. And then let's see. Saquon Barkley, next up, number 8 for me going into next season. He's going to be a free agent, but let's assume. Oh, and he's going to be the top of tier 4 for me because there's some uncertainty here. This is where like I've got question marks, big question marks. So number 8, he was number 9 in fantasy points per game this season, so this aligns with that. But yeah, dude, Saquon, that offensive line is. I told you before the year, I downgraded him. I was lower on Saquon than anybody else because of that goddamn offensive line, and I'm all about that offensive line again, man. Like, what the hell is going to happen next year? So. Next up, dude, Rachaad White. I was hating on him. One of my biggest misses of the season was Rachaad White, man. Number 9. I have him ranked next season. So I have him ranked as a top 10 quarterback or top 10 running back. And that aligns with his fantasy points per game this season. He had he was 10th in fantasy points per game. He really turned it on in the second half. That first quarter of the season was pretty shitty for all the Buccaneers. I was just listening to an interview with Baker Mayfield and said it took him a while to figure out, their offensive identity and what they like to do, what they're good at. And man, they found out, and fucking, what's his name? Why can't I see his name? Rachaad White is a big part of that. He is in the same tier as Saquon for me. The next up, dude, I've got this guy. I want to put this guy as a top 3 running back so bad, but I can't do it until I see him used as such. Dude, Devon Achane, man. He is leading the league in yards per carry. This is like 7.8. It's fucking crazy shit. What else do I have? Do I have anything else, Achane? Number 1 in rushing yards over expected per attempt by a mile, man. 2.87. It's like, the next up was like 1.5 or some crazy shit. Devon Achane takes nothing and turns it into a touchdown. The problem is health. I have not seen anything like this since I was a CJ2K drafter in like fucking 15 years ago. But guess what? CJ2K was freaking jacked. Pete Carroll is freaking jacked. So you don't have to worry about him getting so injured. This dude right here will get injured. Achane, though, man, 5th in points per game, but he had a lot of early exits that kind of fucked up that. He should be like number 1 in points per game. It's insane. Achane sealing up the butthole. I will be trying to draft him next year. And in the same tier, Isaiah Pacheco. This is slow and steady. Isaiah Pacheco. With Todd Haley, I think that's his name. They got rid of Eric Bieniemy. Todd Haley was the guy that ran the ball a lot with Kareem Hunt and stuff like that. So I have not heard anything about an offensive coordinator change. Maybe we will if they go out early this week or next week. But still, if Todd Haley is the coordinator next year, expect them to run the ball a lot. Pacheco is a safe play, not high ceiling, but low floor, 14th in points per game. Not great, so I am over projecting him, I guess. Here we go, dude. The goddamn Terminator, James Conner. 12th, I have him ranked for going into next season. He was 13th in fantasy points per game, but look at his last 6 games. Holy shit, 4th best. And he had the 4th best rushing yards over expected per attempt at over 1.0. So this guy is getting old. I mean, he beat cancer. This guy was going against the toughest run schedule and was fucking killing people, dude. It was insane. So James Conner is the Terminator. Holy shit. Steroids are a hell of a drug. So 12th, I have him ranked. He was 13th in fantasy points per game, but oh my God, he hit it hot as of later on, especially when Kyler Murray came back. In the same tier as Conner, Pacheco, Achane, White. This is my biggest tier. Rounding out this tier is Travis Etienne because, man, he disappeared. Woo! The Magic Man. Can't see. Oh, he went John Cena in the second half, dude. I hate inconsistency in putting a running back in high tier top 10. So I had to put Etienne a little bit lower. And I am under projecting him because I have him 13th and he was 7th in fantasy points per game this season because he had huge games in the first half of the season. That whole team took a big shit in the second half, but he is in the same tier as Kamara. So you can see all these people maybe swapping places in by next season's draft. All right, next up, Derrick Henry is a free agent, man. Number 7 in points per game this year. Dude, what else is, dude, Derrick Henry, number 1 in rushing attempts, 5th in rushing touchdowns, 2nd most rushing yards. And this was like, dude, we talk about this being a terrible year for Derrick Henry. Dude, Derrick Henry fucking did well. Okay. So I don't know where he's going to be next year. He might follow Vrabel to the Patriots, and they'll probably get rid of Ezekiel Elliott or some crazy shit like that and give him a better offensive line, even though the offensive line's been shit since they got rid of that old offensive line coach. But hey, man, look for Henry to kick some ass maybe next year. 14th, I have him ranked. He was 16th in points per game. Tyjae Spears was killing him. His usage was killing him, but he was still like number 1 in all these categories. He's rounding out a tier number 5 for me. And then here we go, dude. Josh Jacobs, put him at the top now. Number 15 for me. He is the best running back that Nick Bosa has ever seen in his goddamn life. And he was 18th in fantasy points per game. And I predicted this kind of at the beginning of the year. I had to put him high because he was insane. And I just trust pros when they tell me. They don't tell me. They tell the TV that tells me that they're the best running back they've ever seen. So, yeah, dude, Jacobs had that clunky. No running back does well holding out in that offseason, man. Running backs need that timing and shit. I don't understand what it is, but they never do well holding out, man. So Josh Jacobs had a bad year. But, man, if Antonio Pierce is the goddamn coach next year, it is Josh Jacobs' time, man. Like 90% of rushes, 95% plus of rushes. This guy has the most potential to go up in my rankings going into next year. All right, I had drafted Kenneth Walker. I was all about Kenneth Walker. I'm ranking him number 16 going into next year. He was 20th in fantasy points per game this year. He was like top 5 in the first half and then ate shit. He kept on dealing with injuries. It was terrible, man. But he was like, got so many touchdowns and so many goal line carries. Oh my God, dude. Kenneth Walker, value this season for me. Value probably next season as well, but I am over projecting him. Here we go, dude. James Cook, my, what is he? Fantasy MVP from 2 years ago. Last year. He looked like they were going to change the offensive coordinator, and then he was a top 5 running back. Well, he was for about a month, and then, man, they just went right away from it. So this team in general, as long as Josh Allen is there, I don't want a running back for Josh Allen. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen there. So 17th, I have him ranked. I'm over projecting him because he was 19th in fantasy points per game this year. That offense is so liquid, dude. It's like, hey, we're going to feed Stephon Diggs. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Who the fuck knows? Sorry, guys. I've been drinking. I've been thinking. All right. Next up, Joe Mixon. God knows I'm underprojecting him because I do it every year. Man, if you just drafted Joe Mixon every year, you'd have a solid running back too every single year for a value. But people like me underappreciate him. Let's keep it going. Number 18 going to next year. He was 11th in fantasy points per game this year, so I should have him higher. But he's in the same, I see him as a Walker, a Jacobs, a Cook. I mean, all these guys in the same tier just kind of like make sense to me. And then Ramondre Stevenson next up. He has the biggest chance to make a jump, man, because he was an amazing runner and a huge part of that offense. But now with Bill Belichick, I didn't do this with Bill Belichick gone. I kind of kept him here because I don't know where to put him. I need to see who the coach is going to be. But Ramondre Stevenson, I have him ranked 19th. He was 28th in fantasy points per game. But, man, when Ramondre Stevenson was fully healthy, he had like a month of 20-plus point games. So you know his ceiling is still there. He rounds out tier number 5 for me. And then here we go. Here's some secondary running backs coming up your butt right now. Raheem Mostert. I drafted Raheem Mostert this year. I was a huge value. I was big on him because you could get a starting running back super late. And whenever you can get a starting running back super late, you just take it. Who cares what it is, man? Let's see. I have him ranked 20th because I believe in Achane is going to get his chance next season. And he was 4th, dude, in fantasy points per game. So the most under-projected player on here, but I do believe in Etienne. And he rounds out the tier number 6. And then here we go, another secondary running back, Montgomery. He was killing it just like Mostert was. Dude, Mostert had like 18 touchdowns, the most in the league. And Montgomery had like 14, which was like the 3rd most. So these two right here have potential to be big values going into next season. I'm just underevaluating him right now because of the rookies behind them. But yeah, 21, I have him ranked, and he was 15th points per game in the same tier as Mostert. Tony Pollard can S&D. 22nd, dude. I said don't draft him because he was getting drafted way too high for having a goddamn broken leg. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, man, he's probably going to do better. I have him way down here because I don't know how you put him higher than this, dude. I don't know how you put him higher than Mostert or Cook or Walker. I don't know how you do it. So number 22, I have him ranked. He was 23rd, dude. He was drafted like the 5th or 4th running back off the board. 23rd fantasy points per game this last year. Huge bust. Huge. talk about huge bust, man, and like the same shit. Austin Ekeler, man, is toast. He's toast. I'm smelling burnt electricity. But if a new coach comes in there, if Jim Harbaugh comes in there and Austin Ekeler's a starting running back, I'm gonna fucking draft Austin Ekeler higher than this. So this guy at 23rd, I have him ranked 22nd fantasy points per game. So terrible. Same tier in Pollard and Montgomery. I mean, really, Montgomery they should be lucky to be in the same tier as Montgomery and Mostert. Then Nick Chubb, I have him ranked 24th. This guy would have been a top 3 running back this season. But last time I saw him, his leg was dangling in every direction. So I am not ranking him. I've got him number 24. But one of these Browns running backs, dude, are going to kill it next year. I've got Ford, number 25. So Browns running backs are amazing. Kevin Stefanski, man, knows how to coach. All right, everybody, that is the show. Thank you so much for watching. If you disagree with anything that I said, or if I am missing somebody that you think that should be on this list, I know there's somebody I can't remember. I forgot about it, but I was like, fuck that guy. Hey, let me know in the comments, man. I can change my mind given new information. Hey, hopefully I earned a thumbs up. Hopefully I earned a subscription. If you are not already subscribed, we need your help, man. We want to make this the largest fantasy football show on the YouTubes. Make it happen, and that starts with you right now, subscribing. So please support us. This is Tyler, Big Turd Ward, and I appreciate you.